Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a topic for you guys. Ladies, let's chat, let's talk, because this is serious. The topic is, how do you know your date is a killer? Now, this is a legitimate topic because nobody talks about it. Nobody want to talk about murder on a date. Nobody want to talk about murder in general, especially when you're creeped out and scared. But I talk about stuff on this channel for awareness, okay? I never dated a killer, okay? I hope not. You know, you never really know until, you know, you look on the news and you see the date you was with and you're like, oh, dang, dodged a bullet. But, which has happened a lot. But look, how do you know? The answer is you don't know. That's the whole point of this. You don't know that your date is a killer. And that is so creepy because you know why? You don't know what they're thinking. Now, there are ways to prevent stuff from happening. It's just the matter of being prepared, being cautious, being aware, looking around your surroundings. But yeah, we're just going to talk about it because y'all, there's so much that's unknown about everything. And you're talking to strangers. You don't know what they're thinking. So let's get into it. Y'all know something? I always find it weird with people who are obsessed with serial killers, the girls. Because there are girls who think serial killers are hot and that's what they go for. And they be thinking that there's nothing going to happen to them. But no. Y'all, I just have to say that because I was literally thinking about like Ted Bundy and stuff. I'm like, people was really obsessed with this man. Like, no, this man can literally kill you. Dating is supposed to be a fun thing, you know. It's supposed to be, you're free, you're meeting new people. And little did you know, there's so much that goes into planning a date. There's so much you need to be careful about that people don't do nowadays. Yo, I have covered so many cases with people that got kidnapped from their date and that they were assaulted, raped, murdered, and thrown away like trash and dismembered. I actually think I did 3 cases like that. Probably 2. But I've heard plenty. Let's talk about one, okay? Okay, y'all, I had to put some lip gloss on. I got new lipstick, but it looks to me like my lip is ashy, and I'm not a fan of that. Okay, ladies, let's get back to it. Let's talk about Sade Robinson. I talked about that case on my channel. You can go check that out. I'll leave a link in the description to the things we're talking about. But this case was so gruesome because she met a dude. They went back, probably hooked up, whatnot, and he dismembered her. And if you look at the two, they don't look like they're compatible. And let's talk about that real quick. People say this because they don't want to believe it. Everybody says looks don't matter, but they do. That's just what it is. Life, everybody look at people and they look at the looks, okay? There's a good group of people that don't. I don't really care about looks that much with like dudes. If you can make me laugh, I'm like, I'll most likely like you, but like there's still like a little percent that you do. That's just what it is. We're human. Everybody does that, okay? Everybody's beautiful inside and out. You love yourself. That's all. You just need confidence. But when you look at the two, the way I saw it, I was like, they don't look like they'll be together. And it's not because they're black or white. They just, maybe also, I think it was the picture, his mugshot picture, him in court. He looked like a psychopath to me. And I can point him out, I think. I look at people and I be like, he look like y'all, and I do this, it's kind of creepy. I look at people and I'm like, he look like he really would attack me. I'm like, no, that's what I look at. That's just what it is. It's like, it's how I weed people out myself. Because looks matter. And I'm not talking about like the way, like you don't have to look so perfect and pristine, but I'm talking about the way you could just know, I know, okay? I look at people's eyes. It tells you. Y'all don't understand. If you don't do that, like you really should like pay attention to people's looks. Not just their like, not the way they dressing, I'm talking about like their face. If you really study somebody's face, it can tell you all you need to know. Now, if I was her, I would not have went home with him. He looked like he just looked like something that he will hurt you. And I just don't trust those people. Also, when on a date, you don't go home with somebody on the first date. That happens many times when people, you know, people like one night stands. Do what you do, but if you do it, you be careful. Okay, you be careful. You don't know if your date is going to hurt you. You don't know if they're going to take advantage of you. You just don't know anything. People who do this, I feel like they live on edge because I'm not like that. I'm too scary. I'm not that confident that I won't be killed. That's what it is. I just look at the bad of everything, and I have to because that's what's protecting me, y'all. It's what's protecting me. If I'm on a date with a dude and but what I'm leading into also, you have to like see how they talk. You have to pinpoint the things they're saying, how they're saying it. Y'all, these killers have gotten so freaking smart. They've been smart since the 70s. You see how these serial killers, Ted Bundy, God, it's like so many. It's just 'cause everybody know his name. The Gacy, I don't like saying his name. He's like creepy, y'all. Ew. The satanic dude that girls was falling in love with, which he wasn't all that either. The TikTok man. I'm just like, you gotta literally see how they're talking. Dudes can woo you and you wouldn't even know that they're doing it. That's how smart they are. You literally have to pinpoint everything they're saying. You gotta like, actually, you know, people don't do this, but you have to stay aware in the date. You have to stay aware when talking to somebody. You can't just get caught up in their looks and like the things they're saying. You just gotta actually listen. A lot of people don't do that on dates. You gotta listen. Same things with dudes. There's women who take advantage of men and they'll kill them. You just never know. I feel like this whole video is like trying not to get killed, but basically how to survive on a date. That's what this is. How to survive on a date 101. So how do you really know if your date is a killer? You know your date is a killer if he looks at you. I feel like that's the textbook version. You know your date is a killer if he looks at you, never take his eyes off you, talking directly to you, and that's all a lie, y'all. Okay, that's all a lie. You don't know if your date is a killer. That's the thing. But you have to assume stuff. I'm not saying go into a date assuming he'll kill you, because that's like my tactic, okay? But I'm saying you have to go into a date and just always be on alert, okay? Let me stop being so goofy. Look, you actually have to go into a date and be careful. You have to be aware because you don't know if your date is a killer. That's the thing. The whole point of this video is saying you don't know if he can kill you because it's always possible. It's always possible. And y'all, 2024 has been insane. People have been killing nonstop recently and I don't understand why. I feel like I need to study this myself because it's really weird. You got people killing dates, people killing their exes, people killing people that they are obsessed with. There's a lot of stalker ones I've been doing, y'all, and they're just so jealous and they're mad they can't be with people, so they'll go, you know, go on a date with them, and then you'll see them later, years later, and they act like somebody else and they get on a date and finally kill you. You just have to be aware. And I feel like people think these type of videos are like crazy, but I'm like, no, this is really trying to keep you safe because it's so much stuff happening and you don't know. You never prepared until it happens, and that's crazy to me. Like nowadays I feel like people just care about like materialistic stuff. They walk around try to be cute for dudes, but I'm like, little did you know, you don't know what they're thinking. That's the point of that. You don't know what they're thinking. So we can woo dudes all we want, but it's like, what are they really thinking? And that's the scary part. It's like psychological thinking, y'all, because you don't know what they're thinking. And I was like, this video sounds so crazy, but in my head it sounds like perfect. You don't know what they're thinking, so you need to try to figure it out while you're talking to them. Ask them real questions on dates. You know what? Let me give you ladies some tips. This is what we're gonna do on dates, okay, from now on, because people need to have them ready, have them memorized, okay? So let's start. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do is write questions before you go on your date, okay? Have a list of questions. We're gonna have a list of questions and stuff you wanna ask. Now, I'm not talking about little cutesy stuff, okay, y'all? Throw the cutesy stuff out the window. It's serious on the first date because, you know, these are strangers. You can have the cutesy stuff on the third date. First and second, you're doing this to get to know the person, okay? Well, second, yeah, because it's like, it take a while. You never know, y'all. It take a couple of dates sometime to get to know somebody. So, first thing you want to do is get your questions ready. You're staying up for a while because you're like, okay, we're not going in unprepared. And you need to have a counterattack. Every time he asks, you need to have something to say back to him. So you want to keep the conversation going. And that's also a good conversationalist. I took communications. I knew how to communicate early on anyway, but you know, you want to continue the conversation. You want to have great communications, and that'll also show you if he can keep up. Because if y'all can communicate, you might be compatible. You never know. But anyway, this is not about that. So first, when you get on your date, you know, y'all introduce yourselves to each other, and then the conversation starts. It's scary, it's weird, it's nerve-wracking. You know, you got butterflies in your stomach, and I'm a nervous laugher, so I would laugh. Like, I'm a laugher, y'all. I would laugh, as always. The first thing you're gonna ask is, tell me about yourself. Now, if you don't know his name, if you're like a blind date, you know, ask him like, what is your name? And then you say your name. And then you say, okay, let's get to know each other. So tell me about yourself. And this is where you have to listen. Don't cut him off, because, you know, the stuff I've seen, like cases, y'all, all the stuff in movies and stuff will teach you everything. I'm telling y'all, but they're like, don't take too much from movies. But there are people who can't really, they don't understand what they're doing when they're talking, so they cut people off, and you can see their facial their reactions, and y'all, I swear it's scary. I actually met people like that. Like, you're talking and you cut them off and it's like a whole facial change happened. That's so freaking creepy to me. So yeah, you're letting them talk, and then after they talk, you're starting to talk, and y'all are, you're laughing. Now it's more questions time. We're not done. So you ask him, oh, okay, so what is your sign? I'm not a fan of that, really. People be like, well, I don't mind. I'm not gonna say I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of people saying people are not compatible because of birthdays. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't understand that. I just don't think that's a real thing. But if he say, oh, I'm like a Virgo, because I'm a Virgo. If I'm a Virgo, I was born on this day. Keep that in mind. Keep it in mind, okay? Because you're gonna go research that later. And I'm not trying to sound crazy, y'all, but I might sound crazy to other people, okay? Then you ask him what he does for a living. Now, I feel like this is also dating tips 101, okay? But you also don't have to be too judgmental about this. I don't really care what people does. I'm like, okay, if you're living with your parents, I live with my parents, I can't really judge you, okay? But if I'm not living with my parents, I'm like, okay, what do you do? I'm like, maybe it'll get better, so I don't think judging that part is too serious. But depending on what he does. Now, if I have family tell me, actually my sisters told me not to date somebody in the military because they're PTSD and they could probably kill you. Y'all, I'm like, okay, I like military men. I wouldn't think that, but I'm like, you just be aware. I always say be aware. So yeah, you ask him what he does for a living, and remember that too. So far you got his name, you got his birthday, and you know what he does for a living, and you're going to keep that in mind because you're going to look that up. People don't like to do research. They think it's crazy. No, because they're probably researching you. You at least want to make sure he's not lying, to make sure he's actually doing this stuff. Make sure that's his real name, because people will catfish people on dates because they don't know. They'll probably catfish them if they don't want to see them, or they'll catfish them to make sure that they're real, and then once they see it, they might sit on the second date. Oh, this is my real name. I've seen it happen to y'all, surprisingly, okay? So next you'll ask them, oh, hey, do you live in the area, or why does he live in the area? And then that leads up to more conversations. I've done that. People be like, oh, are you from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Augusta. Even though I'm from Arkansas, I say I'm from Augusta because my whole life was in Augusta, Georgia. I don't like to say I'm from Arkansas. I just don't. I'm not a fan of the state. Okay, I grew up in Pine Bluff, y'all. It's a horrible, horrible city, and I don't like to say I'm from there. I say I'm from Georgia because my whole life since like 3rd grade was in Georgia, since 12th grade. Okay. That's why I draw the line. But yeah, but because if I say all that, they're going to look that up, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't like Pine Bluff. That's the only reason. But you're going to keep that in mind too, because they talk about that. Oh, I grew up in this area, and it was blah blah blah, fun time, whatever. And then you say where you're from, okay? So y'all really just giving stuff back to just research. I'm telling you, do look stuff up too. If they don't, that mean they just don't care. But there are people who actually do that. And then you go into like some nice, you can have nice questions ready. Do you like animals? I'm an animal person. Y'all, we're talking about, let's point him out if he's a killer or not. It doesn't mean he's a killer if he like animals or not, because people can easily fake it. But it's crazy because serial killers, they always start their, and I don't know why I'm smiling, but they always start their, deaths with animals. And this question really wouldn't, I'm thinking that question really wouldn't work. So we might just cut that off. But, it's a good little question to say, oh, do you like animals, just to, take the pressure off of, your 20 questions and get into something cute. You can still ask it, okay? It's not saying that he is a killer, but you're not going to figure this stuff out until if something happens, okay? I'm just saying, y'all, we're not saying he's a killer on this date, okay? The dude that I'm talking about in like this whole scenario, we're not talking about if he's a killer. We're just pointing stuff out to saying that you need to get to know somebody, because you never know, because people don't ask questions on dates, okay? This is literally a 101 class. I'm trying to figure it out if you could really tell somebody by like what they tell you. Another question you can have to say on your date is, what is one of your biggest fears? I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, they're like, oh, that's like a really deep question. I'm like, and that's scary too. Now, it's a good question to say, y'all, but what if, like, you never know what'll happen? And like, I feel like this is one question that people actually keep and remember about others, because there are couples who they know their biggest fears and they'll use it against them. Like, don't ever say you're scared to die. Don't ever say it on a date. Don't say you're scared to drown. Don't say none of that. Now, when somebody asks you your biggest fear, say something more like, I would say something more like philosophy, okay? Like, oh, my biggest fear is, you know, that one day life will continue on, and like we're gonna study and figure out more stuff, and that we're not really here. That life is a simulation. That's what I would say. Okay, my biggest fear, I would be like, life is a simulation. That's my biggest fear, because I'm like, I feel like I'm looking at stuff and I'm not here. It's a little whimsical answer, and it'll bring more questions and stuff. It keeps the conversation going. Don't ever say your biggest fear. Don't ever say your biggest fear on a date. Don't say it. Also, do not say that your biggest fear is not finding love. Don't say that type of stuff. Just make up a lie about that, okay? Because I feel like people really do keep that answer, okay? Next, we're gonna ask them if you have plans for your future. Now, that's a normal question. You know, when you're getting to know somebody, if you want to be serious, most likely you'll probably ask that on a second. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like there's nothing wrong. You can easily say, oh, so do you have plans for your future? Or like, what do you plan on doing like after your job? I don't know. That's stuff I would ask. That's why I think it's probably too much, because people don't think that far ahead. But y'all, the question is, these are just a couple of questions, okay? And I feel like they're probably really weird if you don't, know how to ask them correctly. I see them right in my head. But the whole point of this, we was on a whole date simulation, okay? To try to see if your date, like you have to look at, like, you're talking to this man or woman, you're talking to these people for the first time, and these are for new dates. You're talking to these people for the first time. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know who they are. You have to ask questions. That's the only way if you're gonna figure out they're killer or not, because later on you'll see this stuff progress. And also, the reason why I say if you go on multiple dates with these people, you won't most likely, people can hide stuff for like until you're married, and you won't know those people. You won't know who they are until you're like really moving. Because y'all, I know a girl who, he was like the perfect gentleman, and she didn't know anything, and he showed his true colors right when they started living together, and he started abusing her. So like, you can ask all these questions, but people don't on dates, and that's the point of this story, the point of this simulation I just gave you guys. You have to ask questions, ask realistic questions that you could go back and research him. There's nothing wrong with that. Research him. Look up everything about this man, what he does. Do he work with tools? Because that's the stuff I'm looking at. Now, I might sound crazy, y'all, but I feel like nowadays women don't prepare enough for me to like be safe on a date, because you just don't know. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to have fun. You can easily have fun, add more questions into the mix, but you need to know who you're talking to, because that'll say if you have a second date. If you can keep a conversation with me, you're most likely I'm going to talk to you again. But that's only if I like deem the questions that you ask worthy, because I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to be creeped out by these people again. So I'm like, what? I met some creepy people before, y'all. Like, trust me, that's the only reason I think like this. So yeah, this is a lot. Do we know if our date is a killer? We don't. But that's why you ask questions, so you can figure it out. Ask the right questions. Don't ask basic questions. I'm a nervous laughter, y'all, but like, I will ask questions. Like, you want somebody who is real, but the crazy thing is about all this, they can give you all fake answers. So yeah, really, I feel like it's impossible. It's just impossible, and that's just what it is. But we're not going to stop trying. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We were on a simulation date together, trying to figure it out, ladies, because we need to start doing this more often. Just be careful when you go on dates. Don't give all your personal information out. Also, I should have said that. Don't. Just be careful. You actually gotta listen. That's why I say don't get drunk on a first date. It's not smart to meet somebody in the club. Don't get drunk on the first date. Just don't get drunk on the first date. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be safe. Learn some safety tips, y'all. Learn some self-defense classes. This is all about safety. I try my best to like warn women and try to be careful. That's why I do these cases. And from here we can only like continue to learn, because a lot of days, like, it's just a lot going on nowadays. 2024 has been straight murder, and I just cannot imagine going through some of the things I be watching. I'm just, oh my god. So because of this, I feel like I will most likely not get married. I feel like I'm a just, I don't know. I don't know. I want to get married, but I just don't know, because it's gonna take me a while to find that person I'm comfortable with, because there's no way I'm marrying just anybody. So always be aware, be safe, and just on a note, I'll let you guys go. Bye. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Bye.